On the command bridge, a calm and calculated new gun rate was replaced by a commander droid after he displayed heavy distress and anxiety when the clones arrived. After being stunned, he was locked in an escape pod by droids. The commander droid plugged itself into the computer system after the main computer was destroyed. Back in the duel, the droid on the speaker said the life support system has been destroyed. All living personnel should evacuate immediately. Qui-Gon turned to Obi-Wan and told him to save himself. Obi-Wan yelled back that he is not going to leave. Knowing that Obi-Wan will not leave him behind, Qui-Gon decided to sacrifice. Qui-Gon then closed his eyes in serene. Maul spun around and stabbed Qui-Gon in the stomach. Maul was exhausted from dueling with Qui-Gon, but he was still pumped to kill Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan disobeyed Qui-Gon. He was furious for his fall. When the shield door opened, Obi-Wan lost control and let out all his anger, and his hate imbalanced him. After swinging wildly with rage, finally, Maul jumped over Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was able to sever Maul's legs really badly. Maul dropped his lightsaber and fell onto the ground. Obi-Wan was about to deliver a killing blow with hatred. Qui-Gon told him to stop and let go of his hatred. After Obi-Wan was distracted by his comment, Maul force pushes Obi-Wan into the thermal exhaust port. Obi-Wan was dangling onto a peg. Maul then exits and closes the blast door and made sure that the Jedi won't be able to pursue him. He then uses the Force and activated the exhaust port. The exhaust port opens. Obi-Wan was about to be sucked into outer space. The door closed. It showed that Qui-Gon actually saved Obi-Wan with his last breath by shutting the thermal exhaust port. Obi-Wan went to his master and apologized that he had failed him and apologized for disobeying him. Qui-Gon said if Obi-Wan did kill Maul, he'll just replace Maul and turning into the dark side. Qui-Gon much rather have Maul escape rather than Obi-Wan becoming one of the Siths. Qui-Gon told Obi-Wan to leave him, and he must train the boy. Obi-Wan agreed because he felt that the boy was the chosen one. Qui-Gon dies in Obi-Wan's arms. Mace and the other Jedi just came in time and realized they were too late and the Sith Lord had escaped. Obi-Wan vomited blood. Maul had damaged him internally with that Force push. Back in space, Anakin felt a tremor in Qui-Gon's death in the Force. In the space battle, all of the pilots, or what was left of the militia, the bombs were exhausted from destroying the communications gun shields. Padme asked if anyone had any remaining bombs. The incoming clones were too busy fighting battleships and starfighters because they are overnumbered. The Star Destroyers are engaged in ship-to-ship battle with the giant battleships. They were unable to concentrate fire on the communication relay on the specific main battleship. However, the battleship's engines were destroyed, so it is stuck in space with no movement allowed. The clones were able to destroy the final barrier of the communications relay before they were taken down. A backup blast door was slowly closing, and it will take another long time to destroy that barrier. The turrets over there were too strong, and many of her pilots alongside died trying to destroy the shields. Some of them were clones. Padme was about to dive into the communications relay, suicide, kamikaze. Padme then opened the radio to Anakin's ship. She said, "Deliver this to my mentor, Anakin. Boss Nass, I promise that I'll come home. Seems like I'm a liar, like any good politicians like yourself, old man. I'm so proud of you. You're like my dad, and I hope you're proud of me too. I'm very scared. I'm doing this to save our planet from the Trade Federation. I wish you could be there on my wedding day. I got to go now." And that was the end of her message. An incoming pilot came in before Padme could do anything. It wasn't the clones. It wasn't what was left of the militia. It was Anakin. Anakin told Padme to get out of the way and don't be a fool. Anakin turned on his targeting computer and locked onto the communications relay. One of the giant turrets fired at his ship multiple times and his ship's targeting computer was deactivated. Anakin was extremely dreadful because he's got sad aim. He only had 2 proton torpedoes left on his ship. He told R2 to redirect all the remaining power of the ship to the targeting computer to full capacity, but R2 said it will take too long. When his computer is completely recharged, the shield doors will be closed already. Anakin then heard Qui-Gon through the Force to tell him act on instinct. Anakin then launched the bombs at the communications relay. After a bright yellow explosion, the communications relay was destroyed. The droid fighters were shutting down. Nemodians and droids in the hangar were about to abandon ship, and all the droids were falling apart. A dark ship with Maul inside flew away just in time as the battleship started to explode internally. All Trade Federation droids were shutting down. All firing stopped from the Separatists. The Republic seemed to have won. The Jedi dragged the corpse of Qui-Gon and an unconscious Obi-Wan to the hangar, only to realize that their ship was gone. The Jedi kneeled as the burning hangar collapses slow, as if all hope was lost. Mace just said Anakin will return. He felt it, and he knows. They finally acknowledged that he is the chosen one. Right when the communication relay was destroyed, he felt a huge disturbance in the Force. Anakin returns in time and picks him up. Some Nemodian Palpatinian troops came and started firing at the Jedi. Anakin realized Obi-Wan was still alive and Qui-Gon was dead. The other Jedi healed Obi-Wan. Anakin wept as he piloted the ship away. The Kaminoan starfighters started to round up the Trade Federation battleships, about to arrest them. Out of the blue, all the battleships went into hyperspace. The Trade Federation Nemodians escaped before the clones could track them down. The dark ship showing Darth Maul, who had survived in it, flew to Naboo. The militia and the Jedi all returned back to Naboo. Similar to A New Hope ending, everyone was hyper, Mace putting Anakin on his shoulders. Anakin was unconscious due to the exhaustion. The two Jedi Knights were taken care of by medical droids. Yoda arrived on Naboo along with Palpatine and other politicians to pay their respects. Palpatine returned as the newly elected Chancellor. He told Padme that the Senate has decided to create a grand army of the Republic that in 10 years will be produced. They are going to be using Communion clones. Later that night, Darth Maul landed on Naboo and approached his master. Limping towards him, he stated he had failed but survived, and he can still move. His master loomed in the shadows. Darth Sidious was cold and cruel. He forced Maul to have his legs amputated, surgically removed by medical droids, and replaced with menacing cybernetic limbs. No apprentice of his could show any weakness. Sidious also calmly stated that the clone army of the Kamino will be useful for the construction of his new empire. He said, "The galaxy will be divided, and it is all according to his plan. Chaos was what he had in mind, and whoever wins the war, the victor shall be transformed into his empire, whether it's the Republic or the Separatists." Maul, hearing this, was relieved, but he was punished for unable to defeat the Jedi. Finally, Yoda met Anakin and Obi-Wan. Yoda sensed much anger in Anakin. Anakin was angry at himself for unable to save Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan convinced to Yoda that the tremors of the Force was not caused by the Dark Jedi as the Council had felt before. It was actually Anakin Skywalker. And Obi-Wan said he wasn't that different from Anakin because when he was young he do have the same amount of anger for things that are out of his control. Obi-Wan stated that Anakin will cause grave danger to the galaxy if he's not properly trained. Thus he must be guided or he could be easily lured to the dark side, and training can prevent him from turning towards it. Most Jedi members agree that he should be trained so he won't be tempted by the dark side as he becomes an adult Jedi. Mace sensed that he will bring the balance to the Force. Yoda sensed Obi-Wan's determination and his will of the good side of the Force will bring great positive influence to Anakin. Anakin said,
"I won't fail you. I'm not afraid."
Yoda trusts Obi-Wan and believes Obi-Wan's influence on Anakin will be strong enough, as long as Anakin stay away from anyone with the dark side of the Force. And Yoda was able to feel that the Force is extremely strong with him. Then, counting Yoda's votes and the other Jedi members' votes, Anakin was finally approved to become a member of the Jedi Order. Obi-Wan promised Anakin that he will become a Jedi. In Qui-Gon's funeral, similar to the Phantom Menace, Yoda realized that the Sith has returned and Mace Windu believes that the attacker was no ordinary Dark Jedi. He could still feel the remnants of the dark side in the area. Naboo was safe once again, but everyone is in distress. People are starting to have doubts with the Republic. The Naboo citizens mourn for the dead pilots and the clones. There was a speech given to the crowd by Palpatine praising the heroicness of the clones and Naboo pilots. Padme is standing next to Palpatine mourning her pilot companions and civilians who died during the invasion. There were a number of landing crafts that landed and brought carnage. Buildings were in ruins, destruction was everywhere. By the end of the funeral, everyone left, except for Anakin, who knelt before the grave and pledged that he will become a powerful Jedi and apologized for not being powerful or fast enough to rescue Qui-Gon. He blamed himself for not being able to rescue him. The Trade Federation's conquest has been delayed, but the Naboo was harmed emotionally and catastrophically, and the Trade Federation has escaped, and no traces could be found.